Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch 2020, our show following all the news and rumors on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and this week, the Nintendo Switch. I'm Damon Hatfield, and this week I'm joined by Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox Podcast Unlocked.
Good to see you, Damon.
You as well. And Jonathan Dornbush, host of IGN's PlayStation Podcast Beyond.
Beyond. Hey there, Damon.
But this week, we begin in Camp Nintendo as fresh rumors of a new Switch model have begun swirling. Of course, rumors of an upgraded Switch model, a Switch Pro, if you will, are not new, but they've floated up again this week. These say that this new model is supposedly planned for release early 2021, early next year. The report comes from sources in the console's supply chain. It says the new version of the Nintendo Switch will feature improved interactivity and a better quality display. Jonathan, what's your sort of read on the latest rumors, and how legitimate do you believe them to be?
After we saw these rumors come out, there was further confirmation, I believe, from the Wall Street Journal, a couple other sources that seem to back this up. And I definitely think we're looking at the potential for a Switch relaunch, a Switch 2.0 at some point in the next year. I think it makes a lot of sense for it not to come this year. As you were saying, these rumors have been going on for a while, and a lot of people had talked about, well, maybe we're going to get a Switch Pro this year to go up against the PS5 and Xbox, but it makes absolutely no sense for Nintendo to put that out in the midst of this already huge battle. It makes total sense for them to kind of want to have the room to themselves. That worked so well for the Switch when it first launched in 2017, and it makes sense to try that again with a second Switch.
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, and this is a rumor that's eventually going to come true. And the fact of the matter is, Q1 of 2021 would mark 4 years since the Switch's debut. And yes, we got the Switch Lite, but that wasn't really a hardware change. So it is time. I mean, it does make perfect sense. And I mean, it could even work out whether or not Nintendo exactly planned it this way, but maybe Breath of the Wild 2 is the showcase title. Not that it won't work on the current Switch, but maybe it's the Switch Pro's sort of flagship showpiece title, the same way that Breath of the Wild was the killer app for the Switch in 2017.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But to be clear, we're talking about an upgraded version of the current Switch, not like the successor to the Switch, Nintendo's next console. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's what the current prevailing rumors seem to be. And, obviously there is still such a huge audience around the Switch. And obviously we've seen it even this year. The Switch has had tremendous sales success, especially with Animal Crossing New Horizons, bringing in so many new and obviously continued Switch users. I don't think they would want to suddenly split the user base immediately. I think that would probably cause them more hassle than it was worth. And so I'm pretty sure what we'll likely see is something in the vein that we've seen Nintendo do.
We are having technical difficulties, so I'm going to entertain you for just a moment. You get to look at just my face. Of course, along the lines of what Jonathan was just saying, there was the Game Boy Advance and then the Game Boy Advance SP, and then there was the DS and the DSi. So I think this latest revision of the Nintendo Switch would be something along the lines of that, not the Switch 2, I don't believe. These rumors claim that this new Switch would feature a better screen and improved interactivity. Although that's the confusing part to me. I'm not entirely sure what new interactivity would mean. Of course, we already have two Switch models. There's the Switch and then the Switch Lite, which doesn't switch, ironically enough. So it's interesting to think of introducing a third model into the Switch family. I would think they wouldn't want to fracture the audience. There's already a fraction of some degree in the fact that with the Switch Lite, you can't use the motion controls of the Joy-Cons. I was just wondering aloud to myself about what the rumors about this new model featuring improved interactivity could mean. Jonathan, any guesses?
HD Rumble is back. No, it's interesting that would be such a clear selling point in some way. I do think it could be something along the lines of functionality in the Joy-Cons, maybe just to the point where they don't drift. Obviously, Joy-Con drift has been such an issue this year, and to improve the hardware, or this generation, forgive me, there's been so many issues around that, unfortunately, for players. I think just some improvements to the Joy-Con. But one of the things Nintendo talked about sort of since the beginning of the Switch's life was, where you slot in the Joy-Con, they could put other things conceivably there, and they could use those slots for different types of control schemes. And we've seen them use the Joy-Con in an interesting way when it comes to Labo, and those have been, a pretty big success when it comes to family. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something that found new ways to either use the Joy-Con in creative ways that we haven't seen just yet, or find new ways to do something with the control scheme of the Switch.
Yeah, those are some interesting ideas. Of course, the Switch has been phenomenally successful. Some may wonder if we even need a new version of the Switch. Ryan, what do you think? There are 2 new consoles launching later on this year, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5. Do you think we need a more powerful version of the Switch?
I do, actually, because for third-party purposes, we've gotten Nintendo. They got off to a decent start with third-party, which they just really struggled with in the last couple of generations. And we got The Witcher 3. It runs on the Switch. You can play it, and it is a portable game. It doesn't run great, but it's there. So as Sony and Microsoft forge ahead with their next generation consoles, I do think it's important for Nintendo to, they're going to go along, they're going to march to the beat of their own drummer, but I think they do need a hardware upgrade to try and keep third parties interested in supporting the Switch with the games that, or at least versions of the games that they're already developing, because it's in everybody's best interest to do so. I mean, players want that. Publishers want to, get as much out of their sort of core investment in a game that they're making as possible. And Nintendo sure as heck would want to have a lot of these great third-party games. So yeah, I think the third-party factor is a big argument in favor of an upgraded Switch.
Yeah, the Switch has enjoyed a fairly steady stream of ports of big AAA games from this generation, like you mentioned, Witcher 3, Dark Souls,
Doom, Wolfenstein have been some good ones.
All that stuff. But as you say, they run, and it's great to have them portable, but it's definitely not like the best way to play those games. If we got an upgraded Switch, presumably those games would run better. But you think there's any chance it could run next-gen games, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X games, even if now it's a downgraded version of those games?
We'll see. I mean, a lot of games are going to be still running on PS4 and Xbox One, so that works in Nintendo's favor for a potentially upgraded Switch and the continuation of good third party support. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, when Jonathan was talking a few minutes ago about what we'd like to see, what that interactivity could mean, I'd love to see maybe haptic triggers like what Sony's doing with the DualSense controller. That could be a fun new addition to an upgraded Switch.
Jonathan, what do you think? Does it just sound crazy to think you could play PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X games on your Nintendo Switch?
No, I mean, it's along the lines of what Ryan was saying. They're going to want to keep parity in order to keep third parties happy. And I think especially, for the first year of these new consoles' life, they may be okay because, as Ryan was saying, even big games next year like Gotham Knights are planned for a current gen release as well. But as we start to move away from that in 2022 and onward, they still want to make sure that games can come to the Switch from all those big third-party publishers and developers.
Just guessing that Breath of the Wild 2 could be a cool game to launch alongside this revised model. Jonathan, does that sound exciting to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would totally make sense, especially from what we've seen of the last few generations. There's kind of been a Zelda at the launch going back a few times. So it totally makes sense that you would want people to join the new generation of Switch with a new Zelda.
All right. Well, we need to take a quick break. Next Gen Console Watch. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We've been talking about the latest rumors of a new Nintendo Switch model, but let's switch gears to the next gen consoles we know for sure are coming, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Now, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was officially revealed this week for current gen consoles and PC on November 13th, but it's also coming to next gen consoles at some point this holiday season. And exactly how you buy and upgrade the game on each console is a little confusing. Jonathan, I think you wrote the news story on this. Was you seeing like sort of like a
it was
crazy
a bit
math
of
algorithms trying to figure this out?
Yeah, it was a bit of that Charlie Day, It's Always Sunny scene where I'm pointing at a whiteboard all around the room. It is a bit of a hectic sort of system they've come up with, because there are essentially multiple different technicalities depending on which version of the game you buy. There is, of course, a cross-gen bundle that you can buy on either Xbox or PlayStation. I believe it's a digital version of the game, and you can buy this and you'll get both the current gen and the next gen versions. Don't have to worry about a thing. If you buy the current gen versions on PS4, you can upgrade to the PS5 version, but you will need, if you buy the physical version, you will be required to still have the disc version from the PS4 inserted into your PS5 when you want to play the PS5 upgraded version. On the Xbox, side of things, you can buy the current gen version, but then if you buy the physical version, you cannot upgrade at this time. Upgrades are being currently evaluated by Activision on the Xbox store, and they will have more to say in the future. So it seems like the safest bet is to probably buy the cross-gen bundle if you plan on playing it both on current gen and next gen. That costs $70, I believe, because if you just buy the current version, you'll either have to buy an upgrade later or may just have to buy a new version of the game.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think about all this? It also I'm a little surprised. It seems like players have less choice on Xbox this time around.
Well, and it sounds like Activision has chosen not to embrace smart delivery on this particular product, which sadly, the business reality is it's because they can get away with doing it this way. I mean, it's the Call of Duty's basically, if not the number one, number two selling game every single year. Yeah. Black Ops Cold War is going to be anything with the Black Ops games have been the most successful of the sub franchises in recent years. So yeah, Activision can do this. And I mean, it's unfortunate that they're making it so confusing this way and not just having it a little more straightforward. Maybe there are technical reasons behind the scenes. I don't want to sit here and either let them off the hook or absolutely condemn them without necessarily knowing the full picture. But from what we have been shown, the bottom line is that yes, this is not the most player friendly way to go about this. So I guess just all we can do is do what we're doing, which is help inform people that it is messy going in and to choose carefully.
Well, and to further undercut all the confusion, on the flip side, if you're looking at just the next-gen versions, I believe if you buy the Xbox Series X disc version, you can still play that on Xbox One. It's a disc that you can insert into both because of Xbox's cross-generational focus. But if you buy the PS5,
that is kind of a smart delivery.
If you buy the PS5 disc, you can't put that into your PS4. So it's this. There are ups and downs of buying it in every version. We have a full list of all of it on IGN that you can dig into, especially if I misspoke, because it is such a tangled web of versions to buy. But yeah, it's a very interesting situation right now.
And the next gen versions should be coming this holiday season. Jonathan, do you think the reason we didn't get release dates is just because we're still waiting on the release dates for the consoles?
Oh, absolutely. There is, yesterday also revealed, this is out of left field, but a very different game, but it does hold some relevance. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 was announced also for next-gen systems.
I love that we're talking about that in Call of Duty in the same.
So the funny thing about that is they said, it's coming to all the modern consoles and Xbox Series X on December 8th and PS5 this holiday. And now that I don't think that means the PS5 is coming after December 8th, but that just means at least Xbox has told us a month. And so they can get away with saying, December 8th on Series X. But PS5, there's no month even announced yet. So right now, everyone just has to say holiday.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Ryan, is it true you got a chance to play Call of Duty?
Did not get to play it, unfortunately, but I was kind enough, or was lucky enough to get an early look at the campaign and just a little slices of a few of the missions. And I have to say, I'm very impressed by it in the sense that there's a couple reasons. One, it is a direct sequel to Black Ops 1, which is my personal all-time favorite Call of Duty campaign. The numbers, Mason. Great game, particularly if you got to the end. The twist at the end of Black Ops 1 was so good. So very excited about that. And then on top of that, I'm excited because the talent behind this, I mean, Treyarch has handled the Black Ops games, and they are working on multiplayer for this, but the campaign that I previewed is actually being developed entirely by Raven Software, a studio with an incredibly rich, wonderful, decorated history. Heretic, Hexen, Soldier of Fortune, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, which is probably their all-time best game. And Singularity in 2010 was the last original game that they made. They've been a Call of Duty support studio ever since, doing multiplayer, doing the remaster of Modern Warfare 1, doing this, doing that. So I'm really excited for them to get back in the director's chair, as it were, and actually develop their own game. So they're just very talented. So between their pedigree and the fact that this is a continuation of Black Ops 1, my favorite Call of Duty campaign, super excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm getting excited for it too. I haven't played a Call of Duty campaign in a while, but this one might bring me back in. Now, earlier today on Gamescom's opening night live, we got a very long extended gameplay demo of PlayStation 5 exclusive Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I continue to be impressed by this game. Jonathan, what did you think?
It's every showing of it. Sorry, I'm just so excited about it. Every showing of Ratchet makes me so much happier because I've loved this franchise since the PS2 era, but I feel like it's kind of been almost forgotten when it comes to the big Sony tentpoles, especially just because there haven't been as many entries of it in the PS4 generation. But this looks great. I think it continues to be one of, if not only the real rare examples of what next gen is allowing for game development and allowing for the final end product when we get to play those games. When we see the sort of Rift-based gameplay where Ratchet is able to sort of hop onto these rifts and tether them to him and instantly jump a location in the world or even onto different worlds. And that demo today really showed that, hey, this wasn't a trick of the reveal trailer that you saw. This was just how that level plays out. This is Ratchet and Clank jumping from location to location with no loads. After the demo, Insomniac confirmed there won't be any loads in the whole game, that this is, exemplary of what we're going to get in the full product. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, did you have a chance to watch the gameplay demo earlier?
Ratchet and Clank, two things here real quick. One, this is the most next-gen game that I've seen from either Sony or Microsoft yet. And I say that just with full compliments. I mean, this is a fantastic display of the SSD hard drive loading technology, of just the extra horsepower of the PS5. Hopefully it's going to play great too, but man, it is the most, I think, just jaw-dropping next-gen thing we've seen so far. And number two, Insomniac, as if they hadn't already made their purchase price, whatever the $220 million that Sony spent to buy them from Spider-Man. I'm sure they made all that money back and then some already, but they are the real MVP of basically the entire next generation console launch, because they're dropping Miles Morales at launch, and then this is confirmed to now be the launch window, which I, from my experience, presume to mean we can probably expect it within the first 6 months. Probably, if I'm going to guess, March. Just as an educated guess. So Insomniac is just two incredible next-gen games. Hopefully, at least they're two very exciting next-gen games for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, real quick before we go, I have the results of the poll we ran last week. We asked you, has Sony and Microsoft's silence on price and release date affected your next-gen hype? Some people are getting frustrated waiting to find out when they can buy these consoles and how much they'll cost. But 42% of you said not at all. You're still buying one or both, regardless of the release date or price. So looks like you are undeterred, not getting too frustrated, not bailing on the next-gen launch quite yet. Here's a new poll for you to vote on for next week. Are you ready to upgrade to a next-gen Nintendo Switch? Yes, you ready, or you love your Switch just the way it is, or you're waiting to see what it costs? Make sure to vote at IGN.com. We'll share the results with you next week. And that will do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch 2020. Thank you to both Ryan and Jonathan. We will be back next Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern with more PS5 and Xbox Series X news. Stay tuned. There's more Gamescom Studio coming right up.